Welcome to Silicon Valley Asian Business Talk.
Hello, everyone. Actually, I'm Roger Chen from the University of San Francisco and also the Center for Business Studies and Innovation in Asia Pacific, and short for USF CBSI Asia Pacific. So, Alfred, would you please, first of all, I want to thank you for supporting us to join this program. And would you please briefly introduce yourself?
Thank you, Roger. Thank you for inviting me. And this is my honor, and really it's a privilege to be here today. And thanks, Heister, and thanks, Ty, to actually have me speak today. I think the last time I actually spoke at a Heister event was maybe 22 years ago, which Heister was just founded. I think I went to a dinner in Cupertino, and I spoke at the dinner. It was very well attended, and so I have extremely fond memories, and it's been a long time. And so thankful to be back. So I was born in Hong Kong, and I was graduated from the University of San Francisco with a computer science degree. And then I went to UC Davis for my graduate studies. And then I got my master's degree from them. And then halfway through my PhD program, I quit and I went to work for Sun. I was at Sun for about just under 9 years. And I founded my own company called BEA Systems. BEA was a very successful venture. So we went public in 4 years and pivoted the company into the web space in the late 90s and reached $58 billion market cap, and eventually got to just under $2 billion in revenue, and sold to Oracle for $9 billion, just under $9 billion during the financial crisis. And then I've done other companies and been very active in investing in the early stage company for the past decade plus. And so about 5 years ago, I started a firm with two other partners focusing on seed stage investment in infrastructure technology. So that's what I've been very focused on in the past few years. I'm having a grand time. This is like 2000 all over again for this AI era. So very thankful to be here. Yeah.
Challenges of an advice for Asian entrepreneurs.
I think one of the things that's the hardest by nature for us, right? North Asians, South Asians, is we live in the West in a very loud community, right? And that's quite obvious. You look at our presidential candidate in this country, the name of the game is to be the loudest in the room. So culture is hard to fight. So that's what this country goes for, right? The West. Not just us, but I think Europe in many ways are like that, right? It's almost like a comic show going on. And I feel almost in some way responsible to learn, right? I mean, this has been a very interesting week. I mean, I think I've been on stage probably 8 or 9 times this week, starting from Monday. And sometimes I look at myself and say, well, I really don't like getting on stage. It's really not my thing, right? I dread, driving here. I dread walking in this parking lot. I dread this process. I in many ways, I have to be honest, I dread meeting, new people. But I feel responsible because unless I tell the story, I think I feel responsible for the venture firm I'm working for, the colleagues I'm working with, because we need to tell the story. I feel responsible for being an Asian, in the U.S., right? And the injustice is done to us. I feel responsible that we don't have more Asian leaders, right? It's improved dramatically. I mean, I tell you, when I went to raise money in 1994, now this is 30 years ago. Time really flies. Almost every venture firm that I walked into, I never saw a founders with an Asian face on it. So I know what's stacked against me, right? So, but someone has to do it. You don't do it, then we're stuck there. So the rest of the world are dependent on us to continue to do this. I tell you an interesting stat. One of the things that we do very often at Raise Capital is probably we've done it better than almost everybody, is to be able to find projects inside universities and try to extract them to make it into a company. I've done now many of them. Carnegie Mellon, UC Berkeley in particular, the Skylab, the Rice Lab, Stanford, Georgia Tech, a bunch of these places. And the stat is very scary. In STEM, about half of our graduate students, PhD students, are international, more than half. And this is one of the things that I've been campaigning in Washington is like, if we stopped and we don't issue a visa, we can obviously, and also there's political sentiment. If they stop coming, the innovation in this country will stop at some point. And that number is dwindling very, very quickly. If you really go to the UCs and you go to MIT, you go look deeply in Caltech, look at about of the number of incoming international students, especially the ones from China. That number is dropping very rapidly. And another very interesting stat, because I'm looking at so many of these university projects, more than half the people that walking in to see me are international students, international basis. They decided to stay. They don't want to go back. That's another phenomenon that's happening, right? So they all now have to turn into founders. They will be CEOs, right? One thing, you know what we're in love with? We're in Silicon Valley. We love this concept of founder CEO so much. They are priced higher on the stock market. Run the stat. Just look at the top companies that run by the CEO have the fastest growing stock price imaginable. So this country is completely addicted to this process. So we must find a way to improve this art for all of us. So, but it's everyone's responsibility. Everybody's in this room, everyone's in Thai, everybody in the Heister, every member, every imaginable thing that has anything to do with us, we have to push this. So the more people get onto that podium and be able to talk about this and talk about what they do, it encourages other people to say, this is possible for us. It's just kind of how it works statistics, right? So I think it's a responsibility thing, right? So, but it's not generally, it's culturally, it's our nature, right? So we're okay to be, not being the person that has the loudest voice. I actually don't think that's okay anymore. We don't have a choice. I don't feel I have a choice, otherwise I become irresponsible. And I think there were times I didn't do it. I have to be honest. I was so burned out, that BEA have to do so much of it. For a while, I actually stopped. And then slowly I emerged back and said, you know what, this is crucial. A lot of that has to do with, I think, over COVID and all that, racism issues that we ran into have further encouragement to say, you know what, we all have to do more. And I really believe in that.
Thank you. Actually, maybe allow me to ask a follow-up question to yours, which is an excellent question, because in fact, that's also part of my questions, but you asked it. That's a great question. So first of all, actually, thank you, Alfred, because, the way you frame it, because, as a responsibility, as inspirational for, the next generation, which is so good. That's why we also run this kind of innovative programs to inspire young people, right? So my question to you is, because you mentioned about when you work at the BEA systems, many, many years ago, the world was very different, funding systems also, I guess your working environment, I guess is you may also run into a lot of uncomfortable challenges because of the environment, because the people are very different, because of the perceptions, the attitude. How did you overcome those challenges? What's your personal journey? Because I think for many young people here, to a certain extent, they also face these obstacles. Sometimes they're psychological obstacles, sometimes the funding obstacle. What's your journey?
I think it's kind of interesting. So how did this whole founder concept get in my head was, I think mostly because of Sun. Sun was really a magical place.
You mean Sun Microsystems?
Yes, yes. Actually, I encourage you to do a couple of things. One is because Sun's been gone for 12 years, or maybe longer. People have forgotten how great a company it was. And so it probably has produced the most number of great CEOs that I know of a single company, right? Eric Schmidt, a bunch of remarkable CEOs came out of this company. But there's a reason why that happened. It has a lot to do with the culture of the company. It was a company that was, for most of the time I worked there, I would say, it's kind of a pretty crazy place, right? For a little company, when I first joined them, they have, I think, 1,200 people. We have free operating system, a free hardware platform. We don't even have enough resources to do one. But why did it do that way? Because it has a fundamental cultural element in it that basically allow everybody to do whatever they believe deeply that is the right thing to do. There was a very good interview recently that Sam Altman interviewed Vinod Khosla. I highly encourage to watch this. It's on YouTube. It's very, very good. And it reminds me, because what I was just getting there, and then Vinod, unfortunately, he left, and they let him go. But he talked a lot about like in the world I'm in VC. He said something very interesting. He said 90% of the VCs don't add any value. And then when I watched the video, I said, "Oh my God, this is so Vinod and the classic." And I said, what he really meant is 99%. He didn't mean 90%, but he tried to be nice. He said 90%. And he said 70% of VCs likely harm you in your journey. So I was thinking, what he really meant is 99% also. Okay. So, and he said because they have never operated a company before. So he had this just tremendous regard, not just the invention part, but the operating part. So I have to be honest, I think what drove me have a lot to do with the place I came out of. I saw the founders were a different class of people. They don't think like any other employee that I met. Now, seeing Bill Joy's 2 Ferraris parked in the parking lot didn't hurt either, so I aspired to own one of those in my life also. So I'm thinking, okay, I can get there being a VP. Doesn't matter how I climb the ladder, I'm never going to be them. So the only chance I have is to do my own. And once you cross the barrier, now you understand the pain they're in. So now you're fully responsible. You walk into, so I remember so clearly. So we were finally big enough, I think maybe it was 200 or 300 people. So we have a receptionist. And I remember we gave her stock options. It's the same woman that was a receptionist. I was thinking, wow, we better do a good job, because her family, her kids are going to college, completely dependent on us. I hired a guy, our first customer support person. I think 1 year into the journey of the company, our very first and our only customer support rep. And I think after he worked there for the first year, he did a very, very good job. He was probably one of the most phenomenal customer success person. This word wasn't even used back then. He told me a story. He said, Alfred, you have no idea. He said, through a bunch of hardship, he lost his house, and his family, his entire family, 4 of them, were living in a motel for the 4 months leading into the opportunity at BEA. If we didn't hire him, give him the job, they would have, next stage would be homeless. And by the way, this is how you go into despair in this country. It's sometimes accidental. It's not intentional because they did something wrong. It's just that one thing wrong than another, you get in financial trouble, and our social system is not there to rescue you, and you can just, boom, get right into it. By the 5th year he was at BEA, his 2 kids graduated from Harvard. And those are, I think, the life-changing thing where you kind of like, it gets into your head once you become the founder. You feel responsible for not just those people, but their family. It's a wonderful feeling to have. It's an enormous burden. I have to be honest, I don't miss it that much, but I like having thousands of families that's on your payroll is a tough thing, but that motivation is like no other motivation. You have no choice. You have to be successful. It's not just for you. Other people's lifeline depends on it. So I think it's an enormous thing. And the other thing is, what choice do you have in life, right? This is a never-ending chase. The chase to try to make yourself better, right? Try to be more successful, right? It never ends. Otherwise, I don't see the purpose. By the way, I'm definitely an addict. It's a very difficult thing to stop, right? In the morning, I have another thing that I'm chasing.
That's interesting. So in other words, actually encourage young people to, if I understand you correctly, you basically recommend or encourage young people to develop a more or less those kind of founder mentality, which means a lot of things, like being responsible, aspiration, tenacity. So that's what you talk about, right?
Roger, there's no doubt, if I'm choosing a founder, for example, sometimes they walk in when I'm funding a pre-seed, they might not even have a deck, let alone a product. So what are you picking, right? So most people, they pick the pedigree, where have they worked at, have they created something important before. That's mostly how venture firm picks. I don't pick that. I tell you, the first thing I pick is the guy tough enough, right? Is the woman tough enough? Can they go through hardship? Will they survive when they get into trouble? Will they know they're in trouble? Will they come to me, early enough that I could provide help, right? Are they not going to get scared, right? They're willing to continue to punch it through. That's a very big thing. Toughness is a very crucial part, and that to me is a value that you build into the system, right? Yeah.
Critical challenges that founders need to focus on.
We have a lot of founders in the room, and one part is creating a product. There's a sales part of it. It's a very crucial part of this journey. Welcome to the club. If you found a company, you can't say, oh, I'm only good to develop a product. Selling is not my thing. There's no such thing. I could care less to cleaning the toilet, and fixing the light bulb. It's all our job. It's part of the program. Okay, it's all of it. Sales is hard, and I think it's a very good question. It's very, very funny. So after 5 years into creating, I've gone from a super engineer into forming a really complete venture firm. I kind of surprised myself. Everyone has a slightly different operating model. What do you do that's special to help your company? So some, they help them recruit. Some firms, they specialize in helping them to find a co-founder. Some firms, I don't know what they do. They give them, space. We found out actually the most helpful thing is actually to help them get lift off in sales. So I actually hired one of my ex-VP of sales. They're very good at that zero into the first $2-3 million of sales to help the company. And then he armed himself with resources. So when we actually fund the company, and if the founder wants, we throw them at the company and get an email address and go sell. Use his Rolodex and see how do we get traction and get the thing off the ground. But the founder has to participate because eventually he will help you get a comp plan together, hire the first sales rep, maybe even hire the sales first manager. He will leave because we have other new companies to do. This model turned out to be working marvelously. It gives us really an edge, and it's really what the company needs. This is a very hard thing. The first thing you have to determine, right? Are you product-led? Are you going to be sales-led? This is a very confusing thing in the beginning for most companies. You say, I think I'm sales-led, but turns out the product really is a product-led product, but you want to ignore that because you happen to have a couple inbound that you say, oh, I was very good in selling this deal, so I'm going to go from now on, just do a bunch of cold outreach on LinkedIn and see if I can get to these guys. And now you're getting nowhere. It's crickets. Now you're scared. You say, what do I do? So this is a very tough thing. Once you get enough traction, how do you scale it, right? And that journey to the first $1 million in annual recurring revenue to me is maybe much harder than the journey that I did from 100 to $1 billion or anything else. That gives you the lift up to say, I think I have something. Next you have to watch out for is my barrier to entry high enough that I'm not going to have 10 competitors chasing the same customer? How do I make my product distinctive enough? Those things, crucial. And that, by the way, that's what the founders have to do. One of the founders have to do this. And if yourself don't want to do it, you better go find a co-founder that really, really want to do it. I tell you, a product-driven person and a technologist that want to sell, all power to you. Those are the most dangerous people, right? Those are the best salesmen. Those are the people that sell you stuff they don't have, and the people still want to keep buying from them, right? So, which is really what we do for a living.
Thank you for watching.